growing up, I can remember my grandmother got so mad at my baby sister one time because we had been at someone else's house, and when they dropped us off, the parents were talking or whatever. Oh, the girls were a pleasure, whatever. And she's like, yeah, and referring to my baby sister, oh, she helped me clean and blah, 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 blah. And I'll never forget it. I remember my grandmother's face changed. Like, I felt it. And I understood why, even before she spoke. Because my sister didn't even clean at home. It was a fight to get her to clean. Like, she had to beat her over the head to get her to clean where she lived. She didn't even do it where she lived. But here she was at somebody else's house, just cleaning away, just doing something for somebody else that she wouldn't willingly do for herself in her environment. That's what y'all remind me of on this Ukraine shit. Welcome to Eluminate. Thank you. Welcome, new subscribers. And if you are new to the channel, welcome and thank you. And if you aren't on buymeacoffee.com, you can find the link in the description. It's free to follow there, and it keeps us in constant contact once you follow because you join my email list. So no matter what happens with social media, we're in touch. If you're new and haven't done so, please go ahead and subscribe, and thank you.
I ain't getting no help. No, not what I need.
You've been looking for someone friendly, knowledgeable, and with adequate products in the CBD department? Well, Stanky Farms has got you covered. From their farm to your hands is their motto, and their products, they stand by them.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Whatever it is in the CBD department, they've got it. So make sure you check out Stanky Farms. Everything from flowers to edibles are available.
StankyFarms.com. From our farm to your hand. High quality, hemp-derived natural products.
And use code EPTIMES, all caps, at checkout for your chance to save. Welcome. Another day has passed, and I hope this day finds you all doing well. I'm Erica Parrótt, and thanks for joining in on Eluminate here on this. It's a day. It's a day. And, there's some things that I want to talk about because I don't want to leave it up to chance. I don't want it to potentially scroll by and you miss it. Because so much happens in a day. Hell, so much happens in an hour anymore. And I can't even keep up with it all, nor do I try. So let's make that very clear. But when I do sit down to compile these, not only for myself, but for you all as well, it always interests me what I missed, even though I was still looking. It's crazy. And the things that did happen. Like, for example, did you know that on February 23rd, The Who, well, they announced their global vaccine electronic verification system was a go. They are getting it together. They found a company. Yeah, sure did. February 23rd, they announced that. You didn't hear anything about it, did you? Oh, that's probably because CNN and MSNBC was telling you about the Irish fishermen who fought off the Russians, the U.S. naval Russians, and made them do a U-turn. Or it could have also been because, well, the very next day, Russia was invading Ukraine. Which, I know, it's hard to talk about Ukraine because what's true? What is real footage? What is old footage? And what potentially might even be coming from the Ukrainian president's production company? Yes, I said what I said, because it's a valid question considering he owns one. I gotta thank my girl for that one, because I had not even got into old Vlad enough to realize, like, I knew he was an actor, comedian. I knew he had played the Ukrainian president, and now all of a sudden he is the president. But I did not know that he owned a production company. And isn't it also ironic? now his cabinet seems to be full of people from said production company. Whatever. I know, I get it. You want those closest to you that you trust. But either case, it still raises some really good questions as of, well, are y'all helping produce some of this footage that's not really going on? Don't worry, I'm not waiting. You know why I'm not waiting? Because conspiracy theories now turn facts within 2 weeks. We're down to a 2-week mark, people. Because, I mean, let's face it. For a few weeks now, they've tried to tell you that biolabs there's nothing to worry about. Which, if you're on Buy Me a Coffee, you already seen the link to the USA Today story from back in 2015 when they saw the need to start talking about biolabs and where they're situated, and even created an interactive map for you to go in and put your state in to see what biolabs are around you. Well, I know that there's 3 here in Philadelphia. They're all BSL-3s, and they are all located within one of the teaching hospitals. Yeah, see? See what you'll learn when you go look at something? It's fun. Yes, it's devastating if you allow it to take you there, but stay on the fun track. You know why? Fun allows you to just keep moving ahead. So keep it fun. Learn what you need to learn and keep moving. That way you got the information. Care, don't carry. There's a difference. But the thing I really want to talk about is Mila and Ashton. I want to talk about Mila and Ashton, and here's why I want to talk about Mila and Ashton. Because every day I see people want to give people down the road for standing in their truth. Because I understand a lot of people still have not come to terms with the fact that 2 truths can reside in the same place at the same time while being different. I know, it's crazy. Unified third duality shit there. But it's true. You know, like, for example, your experience with me might be one way, while somebody else will tell you in that same sentence that their experience with me was a different way. Neither one is a lie. They're both true, standing from where they're standing. But people have not come to terms with that. So it's like only one truth can stand at a time. Well, that's simply not the case. And so I feel like so many things get classified under gaslighting because of that. And then you miss the things where they actually do gaslight you. Or guilt you, should I say. So let's get back to Ashton and Mila, okay? So imagine it. You got Ashton Kutcher, who has a foundation that has rescued and recovered, ain't rescued and recovered nobody. They've created some tools, some software, done a few things that they've handed out to other companies and organizations who actually did use it to go recover people. But as far as Ashton's organization, they haven't recovered a soul. But anyways, if you would read their site, it would tell you they've recovered blah, blah, blah amount of people. But anyway, so this human trafficking, anti-human trafficking organization of Ashton's, I'm sure that's probably what it's grouped under. I haven't checked that. I'll fact check that later. Because that's not the bigger problem here. Here's the big problem. The big problem is Ukraine happens, which we all know is a stronghold for human trafficking. And all of a sudden, here comes Mila and Ashton side by side like the couple that they are. And they need your help to get to $30 million so that we can send it to Ukraine. $30 million, that's a lot of money. So let's do something here. Let's shrink it down. Let's call it $30, okay? Now, what if I told you that Ashton and Mila combined could have sent that money over there and it already been there? Because see, as of March 7th, they're only at 17 million raised of their 30 million goal. Honestly, Ashton doesn't even need Mila. He could send the 30 million himself. You know why? He's worth 200 million. That's factual news as of March 2022. She's roughly worth 75 million. Put that together, that's 275 million. So that means now mind you, they're going to donate 3 million. They're asking for 30 million, and they're going to donate 3 million of their own money. So they need you to pick up the other 10.9% essentially of his net worth. Did you hear what I just said?
They're only going to donate 1%.
Let's shrink this. Let's talk about this with not all those zeros. Let's imagine that they need $30 to send overseas, and they are worth $275. They are willing to give up $2.75 for the $30 they want to send overseas, and you're going to have to pick up the rest, even though their foundation will get 100% tax credit for everything that's sent. Yeah. Don't feel so good now, does it? But here's the bigger problem. If Ukraine is so near and dear to your hearts, Ashton, why are you wasting time and waiting for others to hopefully give when you could have already solved the problem? But I know when we're talking about all those zeros, it sounds so noble what you're doing. So thank you for giving that 1% of your income, while guilting the rest of the world who's living in actual real fucking problems. Because let's think about it. We got gas going through the roof. Places that still are not seeing food and stuff on the shelves as they should because we're in a supply shortage, which whatever the hell that means. But every day you're seeing posts because we got to get to our $30 million goal. What are you going to do to help them achieve their goal that they could already achieve themselves? But you want to tell your neighbor they gaslit you because they called you out on your shit and asked you to be accountable for perpetuating bullshit that has gone on the last 2 years. They didn't tell you to stand there and be like, I was wrong. They just asked you to admit that you've helped make everyone's life harder, including your own. But they're gaslighting you. But hey, Mila and them want all your money when they could have just fixed the problem that they foresee as a problem themselves. Yep, do your job with that 1%. Yeah, I said what I said. So, you've got everything. Anything and everything's been going on. And this is my favorite. The department. I can't. Every time I go to talk about this, I just start laughing. So on Tuesday, the department, or the Deputy Secretary of State, Victoria Nuland, testifies. If that's what, I mean, it was a testimony, but it wasn't really solid in negating and helping further cement the fact that there's nothing biological going on in Ukraine that the U.S. has their hands in. It actually just raised more eyebrows. It raised eyebrows to the point that, well, I mean, here's a clip from it, okay? Just, you tell me your opinion. How do you feel about what happened? Just, here it is.
Does Ukraine have chemical or biological weapons?
Ukraine has biological research facilities, which, in fact, we are now quite concerned Russian forces may be seeking to gain control of. So we are working with the Ukrainians on how they can prevent any of those research materials from falling into the hands of Russian forces should they approach.
Okay, now, check this out. He asked her a question. Get ready for it. Come on.
I'm sure you're aware that the Russian propaganda groups are already putting out there all kinds of information about how they've uncovered a plot by the Ukrainians to release biological weapons in the country and with NATO's coordination. If there's a biological or chemical weapon incident or attack inside of Ukraine, is there any doubt in your mind that 100% it would be the Russians that would be behind it?
There is no doubt in my mind, Senator, and it is classic Russian technique to blame on the other guy what they're planning to do themselves.
Last question.
That's also a classic U.S. move, too. So, Nuland, just stop. Anyways, but it's amazing. Right after that happened, not long after that happened, or it might have been right beside when it happened, this happened. And then this happened. But there's no biological labs. There's no such thing as human trafficking. And you won't get sick if you take the jab. It's just so in the face. And I get it, for some, even in the face, it's still not in the face, and I understand that. But God, Anna, if you are now standing up for Ukraine, and you haven't done anything to stand up for yourself in the last 2 years, go sit down. And while you're sitting down, get ready, because it's time to go through all that shit that
some people refuse to believe the Biden administration. They preferred Russian propaganda instead. And we assume they must be QAnon members. We assume that because Foreign Policy magazine told us that. According to Foreign Policy, QAnon, whatever that is, was frantically disseminating, quote, false claims of U.S. biowarfare labs in Ukraine. Those labs obviously didn't exist. It was all just another lie from the Russians who lie for a living.
Buddy, little Camano. It's good to be back. Now, 3 years ago, I visited Kenya as the first sitting American president to come from Kenya. And while 3 years ago my sister Alma introduced me before I gave a speech, today I'm really coming as a brother, as a citizen of the world, as someone with a connection to Africa.
Wow, so California becomes the first state to make ethnic studies a requirement to graduate high school. Meanwhile, 59% of Latinos, 61% of the economically disadvantaged, and 67% of black students are falling behind on literacy rates. And the ethnic studies curriculum is as trash as you possibly can imagine. Among the themes that California Department of Education have listed are social movements and equity, where the key terms are racial profiling, police brutality, oppression, and resistance. Lesson objectives, students will be able to understand and analyze the effectiveness of Black Lives Matter. There's even an entire section on dismantling gender roles and determining who deserves power. And while something as idiotic as this should still be apolitical, oh no, they're going to be talking about conservative versus liberal reporting in news outlets. And guess what? You can imagine which side is going to get you a passing grade. The list goes on and on. The only thing I can suggest at this point is to homeschool your kids.
Thank you for your service. Obviously, you guys give of yourselves to do what you're doing. The community, I think we recognize that now that the political juice has been sucked out of the mass distraction, that we have to move forward. And one of the things I wanted to thank you for tonight was the resolution, the non-discrimination resolution, the CRT deal, because it's happening. And as a parent, I speak to other parents, there's a few things that we don't want. I'm biracial, I'm bilingual, I'm multicultural. The fact is, in America, in North Carolina, I can do anything I want, and I teach that to my children. And the person who tells my little pecan-colored kids that they're somehow oppressed based on the color of their skin would be absolutely wrong and absolutely at war with me. And I think that's the same for every parent. What the mask showed us is that the parents, the most powerful group of people in our country, that they're taking back the wheel. Now, obviously, we had to take the wheel back for the mask, but we're taking the wheel back from Washington all the way to Raleigh and into our local school board. Because CRT, all of that, the parents don't want it. It's a big fat lie. There's not one, if you believe in CRT, I want to tell you you're a liar. Because that means you look at your black neighbor and say that they're oppressed, and you look at your white neighbor and say that they're evil, regardless of the experience that you've had with them. And we're not going to do that. The parents in the United States of America, right here in North Carolina and Cabarrus County, we know that's not true because we believe the lives we live. The fact is, I've been a business owner right here in North Carolina, and I deal with white people, black people, Hispanic people. My children deal with everybody. And the racism is only happening at the government level and on the media. The fact is, you have racists, and there's like, you can't even find them hardly. You just hear the stories about them. But this is what we're dealing with. The parents are taking the wheel. I have an 8-year-old daughter who is absolutely dynamic, who can do anything. athletically, intellectually, spiritually, and emotionally. She is a dynamo. And I don't want a man swimming against her in the pool. The fact is, I don't want her playing against boys in soccer. I don't even let my sons rough her up. Do you think I'm going to let your son rough her up? This is what we're talking about. Policy going back to the parents. Because if you think people who love America are willing to fight for it, you haven't met parents yet.
I want to add a level of truth to what he said. He said, you know, racism exists at the government level and in the media. And he is right. That is where it exists. And I'm going to tell you something. As a 37-year-old permanently tan woman, the racism that I have experienced in my life has actually come from other permanently tan humans. Now, if that truth makes you cringe, well, that shoe might fit you. And there's only one thing you can do from here. Well, there's two. You can keep doing the same thing you've been doing and perpetuate and keep racism alive in your mind and in your worlds. Or you can grow from this experience. And if what I just said makes you mad, well, ask yourself, are you mad because of what I said or because it's true? Thank you for joining in. I'll see you guys next week right here, same time, same place. And you know where you can always find me. Links are in the description. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe. And thank you for hanging out here. Have a blessed week.